and I sense Peter's presence.
Ah, well, thank you, Tristan. It's absolutely wonderful to be here.
Yes, it is. We've got a full house. It is lighting up. The lines are lighting up, everybody. People calling in from all over the world, collectively bringing our energies together. It's going to be an amazing session. On that note, we are ready. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome from your heart to the man, Peter Ragnar. Welcome, Peter.
You do that so well, Tristan. I appreciate all the many times. It seems like it's been thousands of times you've introduced me to audiences, and we've been doing this for a while. So, yes, it's wonderful to be here, and I'm immensely pleased with all the participation that we've been receiving on this, the ongoing conversations that all of you have been having with each other. It's fascinating. I'm getting some interesting insights from all of this. So I want to extend my heartfelt thank you to all of you.
Beautiful. Yes, we've got a lot of participation going on. There's a really incredible curriculum or syllabus, if you will, that we're going through in January. It was sort of a preparation for this journey. Everybody got onboarded. Everybody figured out what was happening. And now we're diving into, it feels like something's missing. And this is a deep conversation that we're going to get into today. And Peter sent out a poem. I hope that everybody has seen the poem. And we're going to start there. Do you want to walk us through that real quick, Peter, and then we'll get into some questions that correlate to this?
Well, I think what we can do, we've been having this online dialogue about masks, and there's some incredibly insightful replies to this. So I'm ready to jump in on the first question.
Okay, sounds good. Everybody, these questions were sent to you via email. They're in the Academy, and they're also in the Facebook group. So hopefully you've been able to connect with them. But if not, no worries. You're in the right place at the right time. The first question, and it's relating to masks. Peter, why don't you take this? What is your definition of a mask?
When we started to put this together, and the very first poem that I wrote to begin our journey full circle had to do with masks, the masks that we wear. So when we posed this question, and I noticed so many wonderful comments, one that stood out to me, there's many that have, but one that really fits the beginning of this question was one that James Eisenberg posted, and it was a video by Jim Carrey. And I'm sure we're all familiar with this incredibly talented comedian and spiritual being, Jim Carrey. He's a very funny man. So I thought, when I posed the question, what is the definition of the mask, it occurred to me, what would Jim Carrey say is his best mask or character? And I think that he would say we're actually never off stage. And that went right along with the commentary by one of my favorite authors, Alan Watts. And I don't know, actually I was introduced to Alan Watts back in the 1970s through East-West Journal. And I have loved his videos, read all of his books, and I found it delightful that he and that Jim Carrey obviously was enamored by the works of Watts as well. So what would he say? we're never off stage. So what would I say is my definition of a mask? I would say that it is something which represents a pretended or sincerely believed identity. It's the impression others receive from me as to who I am. So what impression you get as to who is Peter is actually a reflection of my mask. And it may reflect my skills, it might reflect my talents, my knowledge, my personality, or the mask might be used to hide or conceal it. Now, Katrina and I we've had some really in-depth discussions about the material. And so we were sitting there the other morning in front of the fire, and she's asking me, she says, okay, what's your definition? And I started talking, and she says, what do we do in the mornings generally? And I went through our morning routine. She said, no, just later. Well, I said, we go to the gym. And she says, yeah, when we go to the gym, you get your gym bag, and what do? And I said, well, I put my gym stuff in there. I have my gym pants. I have my compression shirt, which I put on, which is nice and tight, and it shows my pumped up pecs and shoulders, and I like the shirt because I think I look good in it. I don't know if anybody else thinks I look good in it, but and so I go through the routine. We get to the gym, and I put these clothes on, and I walk out there to begin my workout. I have my workout diary. I have my protein drink, and I'm wearing a costume. This is the act that I am playing right now. And it's interesting because some of the other trainers that are there at the gym have come up to me and they ask me training questions. And so my mask now, they know very little about my life except that I'm there in the gym wearing my costume. And now they're asking questions about training routines and things about nutrition and how do you get your biceps so pumped? Well, and I find myself engaging in some training things. Here, let me show you a superset that I love doing. We all get together and we start doing some exercises, and all of a sudden, who is playing there? Who is the character on the stage? Well, that's Peter the bodybuilder or Peter the powerlifter. It depends on what my workout is on that day. So is that the real Peter? Well, not necessarily. That's my personal trainer mask. And that's a mask that can be used to express, impress, convince, can be used to control or scare or attract or even hide behind. And Katrina and I were talking about this, and there were a few funny stories. There's one that was not that funny. It was actually quite serious. It was one day when I had to wear my control mask, and this goes back years ago. I don't know if you remember this account, Tristan. I think I've told it before, but this is when Ann was alive, and Ann and I had gone out to the Outer Banks of North Carolina on vacation, and we were coming back and the weather was super hot and muggy, sticky, and we had come back from the Outer Banks and driving through remote area of eastern North Carolina, and I noticed we needed to get some gasoline. So we finally come to a little gas station out in the middle of nowhere, and I pull up to the gas pumps, and there's a convenience store. And so I noticed there's one car in front of the store, and the doors are all open. The engine's running. Now, what would you think? The doors are open. It's almost 100 degrees. The engine's running. The air conditioning in their car is running. There's beer cans crumpled up on the floor. And mind you, deadly quiet, silent. So I walk up to the door. I open the door. I walk into the convenience store. There's 5 men in there, and as I open the door and step in, this one man throws a sandwich at the owner of the store, who's behind the counter, and they were saying something loud and angry, and I don't know where this voice came from, but I had put on a different mask, and I looked at the man who seemed to be the leader of this group, and I said, "Gentlemen, what seems to be the problem here?" And I looked him right in the eye, and surprisingly, he looked down, and all 5 of them filed out, jumped into the car, and spun their wheels and zoomed out of there. The owner is almost crying. He said, "Oh, my heavens, you saved my life. You saved my life. Do you realize you walked right into the middle of a robbery?" And by the time I stepped back out to the car, I felt the adrenaline flush out of me. My face must have turned white as an ice cube, and I had to sit down, and I said, "Holy cow, what was that? Where did that come from?" Well, anyway, I can say I was thankful that I wore that mask, and I played my part on the stage with full intensity, and the look that I gave, my eyes must have burned through that man like hot coals, and they got the message. 5 of them. And out they went. So a mask can be used to control, as I said, to scare, to attract, or hide behind. Actually, I can't leave it out at this. I got to give you something a little bit more pleasant. It's all drama anyway. It's all drama on the stage. So don't let any of that stuff upset you. So here we are in the airport. I don't know. We may have been coming down to Austin, Tristan, to see you and Sabrina. I'm not sure exactly which trip this was, but so we decided not to go through the scanners, but to receive the pat-down, the security pat-down. And Katrina reminded me of this this morning. So here I am, and this gruff-faced security officer starts patting me down. He's okay, arms out to the side, and he's grabbing around my neck, and I said, "Oh, that feels good." I said, "Keep doing that." And he looked at me with a stern face. He says, "I'm not that kind of guy." I don't know, but he had to wear a certain type of mask. That was his job, And I went away chuckling. I think he might have been had a different response. So anyway, you talk about masks. What's my definition of a mask? It's what we wear to play with. You know, we're on the stage, we're having fun, we're doing our thing, and I guess the point might be to remember that we are actually never off stage. We're always playing our character.
This has been a great post, everybody. In addition to what's coming through right now inside the group, you guys responded to the question Peter asked. And there's some awesome insights in here. I'm going to read a couple just real quick just to tie in with what Peter's sharing. Dustin wrote, I would define a mask as simply an identity. Some are created for fun, and some are created from fear. Janie wrote something really insightful. Everybody did, but here's another. I've collected masks for years. I find them fascinating, and they were a good source for inspiration for her students. Many primitive cultures use masks for hunting and various rituals, so there are plenty of various examples and materials used in the making of masks. When children create and put on a mask, they display fearlessness about themselves. Their inhibitions disappear and they become whatever they want. I'm curious about how many masks I've stored inside of me. And she says, I do like hats. When I put one on, it makes me feel cool. Peter, that's an interesting perspective on the children putting on a mask and taking on a different identity, as Dustin shared, and feeling a sense of freedom or fearlessness. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. To perform well in the theater, you have to totally throw yourself into the character, 100%. And those who do that completely, often are the people that we admire for their performances. They've created a great show. We've enjoyed it. There's a message behind the program, behind the movie or the story, and we feel a sense of fulfillment from watching them perform. I mean, that's why we go to performances, why we go to the theater, why we go to the movies. While we've enjoyed this from childhood onward.
Absolutely. And it's interesting how certain identities keep us small and compressed, and other identities do lend themselves to more expansiveness. But this is going to be fun. Let's keep unpacking this. All right, so here's the next question, Peter. Do you see a mask as good or bad?
Yeah, but I think this is the question that came up automatically for so many of us when we started to discuss the masks, and especially how they were expressed in the poem that I had written about it. Shakespeare wrote in Hamlet, "There's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so." I've always loved that quote. There's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And the way we view something can trigger our emotions, both positive and negative. It can throw us off balance. It can cause anxiety, or it can create beautiful feelings. But thinking makes it so. It's our evaluation of whatever we're looking at. So we could say that each mask presents an infinite number of interpretations. If I think a mask is good or bad, I'm endorsing my interpretations of my experience. So I ask myself, do I feel more righteous if I declare that a mask is bad? That is, do I feel morally justified for taking a position? Do I feel elevated above others? That's a question I have to sit with in deep self-honesty. Now, on the other hand, if I say masks are good, they're healthy, do I really believe this? Or do I say so because I enjoy being seen as more empathetic, more understanding, more allowing? Once again, it's a question to sit with in deep self-honesty, radical self-honesty. I mean, digging deep. That's why this whole topic about the masks came up. And I'm very pleased to see how many people have been pulling back the layers, going deeper and deeper and deeper. And the deeper you go, the more questions you have. And it's like peeling the layers off an onion. Sometimes it brings moisture to our eyes to realize where we are. It's very, very powerful a method. So whatever answer I give, whatever answer, it will reveal or reflect a deeper part of my own self-image. Or you could say, the mask beneath the mask. The next layer down, it reveals that. Now, Sosan, and I love quoting Sosan, who penned the Shinshin Ming. Sosan goes back to the 600 A.D., and you find me quoting him for years. But Sosan counsels, if the mind makes no discriminations, the 10,000 things are as they are of single essence. To understand the mystery of this one essence, is to be released from all entanglements. That's where we're taking it, to be released from all entanglements.
Awesome perspectives. I'm pulling up the different posts in our group here, Peter, just kind of flushing through. And if you guys haven't had a chance to read some of the perspectives that folks are sharing, you should give it a minute after this call because they're really insightful. I'm going to read one right now from Vincent, which I think is pretty cool. He said he's appreciating everyone's perspectives on this topic of this question, are masks good or bad? And he said it got him to thinking and wondering when he was serving tables at Chocolate Tree in Sedona. That sounds like a cool place to visit, by the way. I was encouraged by the owners to be my authentic self. Though in time I realized I had constructed a whole character that would easily move from table to table and the interactions he was having with people. And due to the nature of the restaurant, the vibe of the place, he often had the opportunity, as he says here, to drop the mask and really connect with people. And I think that's interesting because Peter just talked about layers of the onion. And we're dropping masks, but I think we're going to get into this. There are masks behind masks. He said, I recall that there were just some people who really, they only wanted the mask, right? They wanted the nice waiter, right? So it felt like it served at the time, he said. It took him about 6 months, though, to let that persona dissolve after I left. Something to consider. So I think the word persona is a cool word to use. It's the mask that people would wear when they would go to balls and hold in front of their face. And today we call it a personality, right? So good stuff in here, Peter.
Yeah, I've been greatly enjoying the comments, and I may not reply on all the comments, but I sit down and read all of them, and you guys have been keeping me busy. I love it. I love it. Just keep on keeping on.
Yeah, it's great. And these are very relevant conversations to be having. You know, most humans are walking around, they don't even know there is a mask, right? Like, not a judgment, just the identity is so thick and it's very hard to see through it. I heard a Zen parable, I believe it was Zen, years ago, and had to do with a nut. And when you first have a nut that's not yet ready to be eaten, it's not ripe, you shake it. You don't hear anything. But over time, as that nut shifts and separates from the shell and you shake it, you can hear it rattling around inside. And that's where we're getting to here. Oh, okay, I can hear that personality, that egoic sense of self rattling around behind the mask. Very, very beautiful to be able to awaken to that. Let's keep going. So, Peter, the question I've got for you is, and maybe this is for everyone, what's your favorite mask? If you're going to wear them, what's your favorite one?
You know, when I was going over a lot of the answers that our friends have been posting, I came onto one by Ken Rich, and Ken posted this: "The mask I wear that I'm unaware of, it fits so well, I don't know it exists." That's classic. That's a classic. I love the way he phrased that. Yep. The mask I wear that I'm unaware of, it fits so well, I don't know it exists. And I think that really nails the point that maybe our favorite mask we don't even know exists. But how do we find out? And that's by deep introspection, by sitting with the question, by digging beyond the question, by asking again and again and again, going deeper and deeper and deeper. It's so easy for me to be unaware of my favorite mask. You know, as Ken wrote, if it fits so well, I don't know it exists. Well, perhaps it doesn't fit quite that well. At least for me, I think it's the mask that I wear as the spiritual teacher, as the guide, as the counselor, as someone who hopefully lessens the suffering of others. In a way, it's also a reflection of my least favorite mask, one that makes me cringe, but more on that a little later. My favorite mask is most clearly illustrated by the seeker who's come full circle. And by the time the seeker has come full circle, a surprise awaits, a transformation, which is unexpected because it's a new way of seeing the circle. Wearing my favorite mask, I enjoy playing this role. And this full circle, actually, I'll give you a little insight on that. The inward-facing path, which is circular. It was reflected back in the 12th century, and maybe even earlier than that. Actually, there was a spiritual teacher, Ching Chu, who was a Chinese man, who came up with some pictures and poems that referenced this circular path. And over time, back into the 15th century, a Zen monk by the name of Zubun, or Shubun, took those old pictures and put them into a teaching framework. And then later, there was a preface or poem created to each picture. And as time went on, another master, Chi Wan, made 3 sets of poems from the Chinese for each one of these pictures. And very subtle messages were hidden in the progression. Now, remember, I call this full circle, or an inward-facing path. And of course, most of you know this from the book that I wrote on the Ten Bulls of Zen. That's what they became known as. They were woodblock prints by a 12th century Chinese Zen master, Kuan. And they began with 5 prints. Then someone felt they needed a little bit more. They're added 8 pictures, and then it finally ended up as 10. And what it is, in short, it's the searching for something, this drive, this questing inside of us that's causing us to ask these questions, to dig deeper. What is this power inside of me? What is this gaping hole that I fill with desire, that I'm chasing something? What is it that I'm chasing? What is this magnificent power? It's incredible power. And in the pictures, it was depicted as being a bull, vibrant energy. But that bull that we're seeking, that energy that we're seeking, where is it? What is it? And it's hidden as if a mask. And that's where, by the time the seeker comes full circle, a grand surprise awaits. And that's what we're doing. We're going to go month by month. We're coming full circle right to the end. So my favorite mask is like my favorite poem in that particular series. And maybe this will give a hint of where we're going. Let me pull this up here. The last of the pictures is titled The Gifted Return. And here's the poem that goes, or the commentary that goes with it. His gate is locked, and only he has the key. His awakening is secret. He now goes beyond enlightenment. No stink of it can be detected, not even to one sage in 10,000. Footprints on the well-established pathways of former sages and ancestors are now meaningless. Bringing his vessel to be filled at the wine shop, strolling through the markets filled with drunks, he never falters in his step, nor needs support from his staff. Everything he sees enlightened. Returning home, they follow him. My favorite mask.
We've got a lot of great comments coming in here, Peter, during the call live. It's fascinating and wonderful because this is such a huge part of awakening and coming full circle, is to have this conversation about the mask. And I really love what Pamela wrote. Guys, this is a good one. She's asking a question, but also, I think, making the point in the question. What would you say is the difference between masks and different authentic facets of one's nature, like the facets of a diamond? And I love that question because I think, personally, it has to do with the state of consciousness that we're in. And I remember this little analogy years ago, and I've always loved it in the martial arts. It has to do with a beginning student, a white belt, and an expert, or master, you might say. And they both have this almost identical look on their face. And the beginner has that look of like, I don't know anything. I'm clueless. I'm a white belt. I'm here to learn. You look at the master, got the same damn look. I don't know anything. I'm clueless. I am here to learn. But oh, how different are those states of consciousness. And I liken it to that, Pamela. Peter, what's your take on that? I'm going to read the question again for everybody. It's a good one. What do you say is the difference between a mask and different authentic facets of one's nature?
First, tell me where that comes from. and then I will give you the answer.
There you go, Pamela. That's the answer. Yeah, it's a beautiful way to look at it, though, right? Because there's so many layers to the masks and the consciousness that's aware of the mask and that true nature beaming through. I've seen so many different facets of you, Peter, over the years since I've known you. Different ways of being your authentic self. Mm-hmm. And moments, blips that we all get, those contrasting moments where you're like, oh, I just put on a mask that wasn't truly authentically aligned to my, right? We all do it.
Always playful. Well, maybe not always playful. Sometimes I haven't been playful.
Little grumpy here and there. Yeah, we have to be so loving and gentle with ourselves, don't we? Because in this spiritual journey, we can start to beat ourselves up. God, it was not my authentic self again, right? I was wearing that old mask, same old, blah, blah, blah. Need to be very gentle.
Yeah. You know, taking your martial art analogy, and this is my experience. After you go years of training, and you learn all these things, and actually I have two aspects to that. When I tested for my judo belt, you had to learn 40 different throws. And my sensei, John Saylor, who happened to be the United States Olympic coach for judo, and also my sensei in jiu-jitsu, John said, my counsel is always the same. Once you've learned all 40 of them, now your job is to forget them and keep 3 and make them yours totally, completely. So now, when you get your black belt and you tie that black belt on, now you have something to hold the gi together and you can begin to learn. That's where you start. You don't start as a white belt. The white belt only prepares you to become a black belt, which allows you to begin to learn. And that was the concept. So, yes, thank you for bringing that up, Tristan, because that is such an apt analogy. It's returning to beginner's mind, as Suzuki writes and has presented information on it. It's Zen mind, beginner's mind. It's beginner's mind. How do we return to that innocence? Well, first we go through all of this stuff thinking we know something. And we're quick to preach what we know. I know this. This is the truth. This is the way. Your way and my way, but there is no the way. That's bullshit. We get that out of the way. But when we get that out of the way, we find that wisdom has set in. And that takes a while. But anyway, there we are.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful conversation. I can tell everybody's really loving this. And it's so important for us to catch this, to wake up, to remember the true self beyond the masks. Well, let's go a little further. I know you touched on this. I'm not sure if you wanted to unpack it a little bit more. Around the narrative of the least favorite mask.
The least favorite mask.
Yeah.
Yikes. I get goosebumps thinking about it. I get goosebumps thinking about how many times I've wore that creepy mask. Now there I am. I'm categorizing it in the negative, aren't I? Yeah. While my favorite mask is molded with a smile and a pleasant appearance, my least favorite mask sports a frown and a look of displeasure. It's the mask of the righteous warrior. It's always ready to take exception, always ready to offer correction to others, always ready to point out the error of their ways. Wow! This face has a judgmental appearance, and that judgmental appearance comes across with the need to be smarter, stronger, more right, more informed, puffed up. You puff up your chest, you stand taller, and your voice gets loud. And then you pound your fist on the pulpit saying, "This is the way." And you point your fingers at others who are not following the way. You divide them. It's what divides people. The need to be right is a very serious disease, because when that's there, you're never happy. You're never happy trying to prove yourself right. How's your relationships? How's the relationship with your partner, with your wife, with your family, with other people? How's your relationship with strangers? How's your relationship on Facebook? How's your relationship with anybody? When you're seeing the world through the lens or the mask of right and wrong, of judgment, and the big problem is that we sincerely believe that we are right. We're passionate about it. And because of our passion, we condemn others, even if we don't condemn them verbally. Are you happy? Does this make you happy? Let's use our brains, our rational ability to reason. Does this make you happy every time you prove yourself right? No, it makes your life suck. And it sucks because you're making divisions. That's my experience. Every time I got up there to prove how right I was proving how wrong I really truly was. So that face has that judgmental appearance. And what I found interesting, that I failed to notice when I was wearing it. I was playing my part so well, I forgot I was even wearing that mask. But I can always be reminded by the voice it has or the reaction I receive from others. I know when I begin a sentence with "but" or "however," and my tone becomes self-righteous or haughty, then with an increase in volume, I found myself spewing out declarations of absolute holy truth. Whenever that happens, believe me, I know I'm in trouble. Many years ago, I threw that mask in the fireplace, but it strangely made copies of itself that magically appear when I recognize others wearing the same mask. It magically appears when I see other people wearing the mask. Isn't that crazy? Or if I watch the news, or if I get involved in any of the social or political issues, which I don't. I remain totally neutral on those. Perhaps it's just human nature to want to be right and to show others the error of their ways. But in the end, does it really matter how many arguments I've won? No. Like my good Alaskan friend, who is long past now, my friend Chris, he would say, when the game ends, all the pieces go back into the box. Yeah, amen, Chris. And all the masks I've worn go back into the box as well. So be it.
I think you're touching on one of the most important topics when it comes to we'll call it spiritual awakening. I mean, we're on a pilgrimage here together. And you brought up the word self-righteousness. And one of the masks that I've seen over the years on this journey is the mask of spiritual arrogance. Would have to say it's my least favorite mask because it is so sneaky and clever, that egoic principle that can no longer hear. Oh, I've already arrived. I'm at this enlightened place. And it's bullshit because it's a total facade. And then kicks in the arrogance and the narcissism and all that stuff. I've seen it so many times. There's such a dangerous trap because it thinks it's arrived. It's already awake. And so that's a really beautiful topic to go into even maybe a little bit more, Peter, because we don't, none of us want to get stuck there. And maybe you've seen it in yourselves, you guys. Think about it. I'm sure, Peter, you've faced that. I feel like you just referenced it. I've certainly seen it. And it's a big trap. So we've got to stay coachable and open at all times. What are your thoughts on that, Peter?
Yeah, that's, it all comes back down to those quiet moments where we really dig deep into ourselves, into our own self-honesty. Who am I? What am I? When we start pulling away the layers, when we see the falsity, and we're willing to let them go, or we realize that those just masks that we've worn. And I guess I have to say, too, learning to forgive ourselves for playing roles that we now consider not like us. That self-righteousness, the stink of self-righteousness, or even, just as I read the poem or the commentary on the 10 Bulls of Zen, the stink of enlightenment. If I wash the stink of enlightenment off, and I can be free. I can be me. I can be that which I really am without pretense or falsity. I don't have to make anybody else right or wrong. Everyone is on the same journey. Everyone. And soon or late, we all arrive full circle.
One way or another, you're going home. Fighting and kicking and screaming, or arms open and just teach me, show me, guide me. I love it. Peter, let's land this on this juicy question. Is it possible to live in this world, right? We're talking about not in the cave, not in the ashram. We're saying in the world. Is it possible to live in the world without any masks?
That's a great question. I'll preface this with, what do we actually mean by the mask? And I'll just hang that out there. So let me answer the question. Is it possible to live in this world without any mask? The world of form has many layers. Some are dense and heavy. Some are light and transparent. And since you asked me, it is my personal reflection on it, I think of masks somewhat like a lampshade. Some masks may be so transparent that the light hurts people's eyes. So there's a reason for the shade in this game of masquerade. Others offer a more subdued environment and wear a heavier mask. And as I said, there's a reason for the shade in this game of masquerade. The mask defines the personality and identifies the wearer as a player in the grand game of illusion. If there were no masks, there would be no world for the divine Layla or divine comedy to play out for our entertainment. Ultimately, all the players are but changing images on the cosmic screen. While we can easily be distracted by a 3D movie, three-dimensional movie, it's easy also to miss the reality of the screen. It's the screen that's always seen. As the different masks appear and disappear, we may not be conscious of seeing the screen, but they're all there. That's all that's there. It's only the screen. Some time back, Katrina and I went, we were up in Burlington, Vermont. It's up on Lake Champlain, and there's a museum there, a science museum. And in the science museum, there's a movie theater. And so we went into the theater, and we put our 3D glasses on. And it was interesting. We happened to be the only folks there. It was a rainy, stormy day, and it was comfortable to sit in the theater. And so what was playing was what it was like, what the Earth was like in prehistoric times. And you're sitting there, and these prehistoric birds are flying past you, and wind is blowing the leaves on this tropical type of vegetation, and it's so real that you look around, and all of these three-dimensional objects are interacting with you. And I thought how easy it would be if I had forgotten that we had come into this theater, if I had a brief moment of amnesia and didn't know where I was, to totally, completely believe that I'm in this prehistoric setting with all of these dinosaurs and other creatures, because it's so real. And if you were to spend enough time with these images, I think you could really warp your head around. And yet, the only thing that's there was the screen. When it was over, lights came on, there's just the screen. That's what we were looking at all the time. And it's the screen of consciousness. We're looking at the screen, and we're seeing all of these images playing out their parts. And we're fascinated by it. It's so real. And we're interacting with these things, not realizing that it's a game. So is it possible to live without any mask? It's like asking, can you play without any actors? When the movie ends, there's only the empty stage.
As you were sharing, I was thrown back into a memory of a similar teaching by Paramahansa Yogananda. You were talking about the lampshade, and then you were going into the movie theater and the screen, and I remember him saying that you're in the movie theater, and you look up, and you see this little light beaming from the box in the back. And on this giant screen in front of you, this whole movie's playing out. There's the villain, and the hero, and the drama, and all this stuff. But all that's happening is there's a little film that's in front of that light, like masks, and that light is being skewed through the film, and it's creating this entire illusion, just like you said. And when the film stops, it's blank. But it's always been blank. And I got it in that moment. Move into the light, Tristan. Become one with the light. And then play the game and play it from a place of beautiful consciousness. And I have nothing against contrast because it always throws me back into the light. Be the light and be the Leela. It's all one.
It's all the images are one. The images are all the same. And what's interesting with this analogy, and I love the analogy, Tristan, I really appreciate you bringing that out. Think of the light. If we think of the light as consciousness, and thoughts that float before the light of consciousness, the thoughts become the film. The light of consciousness shines through the thought. The thought in turn creates what we swear is reality. I'm not saying it isn't here. And it's not an argument of definition. There is something here. It's a real illusion. The illusion is real. Now, when we add our sensory apparatus to this, where we taste, touch, hear, see, all of our sensory apparatus now makes, as we add each one, we make it even more real. And all of a sudden we're swept into the movie, not realizing that we are that which experiences the movie. Who is having this experience? What is it right now that is having this experience, being on this call, listening to these words, having these thoughts, talking about it, interacting? Who, what is this that is having this experience? What is it that is aware of being aware of this experience? That is what we're going to dig into.
And there it is, the perfect handoff into the ultimate identity. Who wants this? Who's projecting this? Who's wearing this mask? I love it. This has been really fun. The interaction has been incredible. You guys are amazing. I know we didn't have time to open the lines today because there was a lot to cover there, but we certainly will open them in just a minute so we can all, say goodbye and make a bunch of noise together. Peter, I know that there's some other things coming up throughout the month, and there's a video training with you. Do you want to just share a little bit about that before we close the session?
Yeah, be there. It's live. We take it to the next, we'll dig a little deeper into this. We'll get into my reflection on the poem, what the poem actually has inspired in me, and we will see how that reflects and mirrors some very ancient teachings. And it is the inward-facing path of non-duality.
Amazing.
Going full circle.
Yes, yes, yes. All right, all you beautiful people, keep remembering the light and the projector and the screen, and create beauty. If you're going to wear a mask, let it be gorgeous. Until next time, let's open these lines up, and thank you guys for being here live, and thank you for listening to the recording and being a part of this energetically. Whether you're here live or listening to the recording, it all goes into the energy soup. Okay, here we go. Lines coming open, and much love, everyone.
Hi.
Bye.
Hi.
Thanks a lot of people. Love you guys. Thank you, Peter. Bye.
Hi. Hi. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Goodbye.
Love you. Bye.